Welcome to the Yellow Broadcast Column, your daily 6 o'clock newscast. Today we will be talking about Russian hacking, the Space Force, impeachment, college admission cheating scandals, and the coronavirus.
As well as special features taking us back to the time for imperialism, the 1920s, the Great Depression, and World War II. Now, heading over to our first story.
Beginning in the fall of 2015, the FBI contacts the Democratic National Committee's help desk, warning the IT department that several computers had been compromised by Russian hackers. After the system was scanned, nothing suspicious was found, however. On March 19, 2016, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, received a phishing email masking an alert from Google that another user had tried to access his account. It contained a link to a page where he can change his password. He shares the email with a staffer from the campaign's help desk. The staffer replies with a typo. Instead of typing, "This is an illegitimate email," the staffer types, "This is a legitimate email." He follows the instructions and types a new password, allowing hackers to access his emails. Spear phishing emails were sent to more than 30 Clinton staffers in the following minutes. Days before the Democratic National Convention, WikiLeaks published that over 20,000 emails were hacked from the DNC server. Notes in which DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz insulted staffers from the Bernie Sanders campaign, as well as messages that suggested the organization was favoring Clinton rather than remaining neutral, were included. Wasserman Schultz resigned as DNC chair due to content of the leak. In late July, the FBI announced that it's launched an investigation into the hack. It had just come in that the CIA has determined that the Russian hacking was conducted to boost Trump and hurt Clinton. Obama then issued an executive order with sanctions against Russia. The order named 6 Russian individuals who allegedly took part in the hacking. Additionally, 35 Russian diplomats were ordered to leave the United States within 72 hours. During a Senate hearing, the Department of Homeland Security official said that hackers linked to the Russian government targeted voting systems in up to 21 states. On July 3, 2018, the Senate Intelligence Committee released a report concluding that the intelligence community's January 2017 assessment of election meddling was accurate. According to the summary, the intelligence agencies were correct in their findings, and the goal of election interference was to help Trump and create confusion. On July 13, 2018, the Justice Department announced indictments against 12 members of the Russian intelligence agency, GRU, General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. This indictment accused the Russians of engaging in a sustained effort to hacking emails and computer networks associated with the Democratic Party during the 2016 presidential campaign. And back to you.
Thank you for that wonderful story. Now on to the next segment.
The 45th President, Donald J. Trump, has recently undergone impeachment proceedings and has been impeached by the House of Representatives. Unlike common perception, impeachment does not mean automatic removal from office. The House, like a grand jury, collects evidence, hears testimonies, and drafts articles of impeachment or charges against the president. In early September, an anonymous whistleblower complaint lodged by a member of the intelligence community said that in a series of events culminating in a July 25th call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, Trump used the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. A majority of the House voted to impeach President Trump on charges of abusing the power of his office and obstructing Congress. These charges were passed to the Senate, and President Trump was acquitted on both charges on February 5th, 2020.
Thank you for that wonderful story. Now on to the next segment.
A massive investigation erupted into a large-scale criminal conspiracy to influence college admissions at elite universities. More than 500 people were charged in March by the U.S. Justice Department. Wealthy parents, including actors Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, were charged with paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to admission consultant William Rick Singer, the man at the center of the scheme, to help their kids get into college, bribing of coaches to falsely recruit them as athletes, faking standardized test scores, and various other methods were used.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing. Now on to our next topic.
Thank you. Coronaviruses make up a large family of viruses that can infect birds and mammals, including humans. While this sounds like it is a new term, a coronavirus is actually not new, and we know it in the United States as the flu. The difference between the Wuhan coronavirus or the China pneumonia outbreak is the different evolved viruses that have fused together in order to make such a dangerous omega virus. A variety of viruses in different regions isn't a new concept either. With every area comes a distinct set of germs, and this is even apparent from one state to another. Since this is not a new term to the medical world, some may be baffled at the large ordeal that it has made. However, just because a term is not new, doesn't mean that this specific outbreak is the same as others. In fact, this ongoing virus epidemic has primarily affected the mainland China, but has also traveled into 28 other countries and territories, causing it to be far more widespread than ever predicted. The evolution of these viruses makes the supervirus all the more perilous to anyone who comes in contact with it. An evolved virus is a virus that has developed an immunity to outbreaks and antibiotics. Since these viruses have an immunity to antibiotics, it is extremely difficult to form a medication that will help patients get better and even be cured. Due to the simple fact the CDC has taken extreme precautions to avoid further widespread outbreaks, such as putting a quarantine under effect in Southern California for Americans fleeing the virus for 4 weeks. Many companies have been working diligently to develop a medication which will, at the very least, help suppress or treat symptoms, so that the human body can have a chance at producing enough antibiotics or white blood cells to combat this extreme disease. Although no cure has been discovered yet, there are experimental treatments which are being tested on patients who accept them. While there is little that we know about the Wuhan coronavirus, the medical world is communicating while working as hard as possible to discover more information and to fight back this deadly epidemic.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing. Now on to our next topic.
There has been a new addition to the United States military called the Space Force. This branch of military prepares for or conducts space warfare. Established in December 2019, the United States is now the only nation to have an independent Space Force. This branch is intended to become the lead military service for space operations, responsible for space doctrine, organization, training, material, leadership, and education, personnel, faculties, and policy. This almost $20 billion force has broken a treaty signed in 1967. The Outer Space Treaty bans the stationing of weapons of mass destruction in outer space, prohibits military activities on celestial bodies, and details legally binding rules governing the peace, exploration, and use of space. The United States deliberately broke all promises in this treaty, even if it is to protect this country. Back to you.
Thank you for that wonderful story. Now on to the next segment.
This year marks the 100-year anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which was ratified August 18, 1920, and gave women the right to vote. It took decades of protests and fights for change before New Jersey made the deciding vote to ratify it. It was a time of liberation that began a whole new era of self-expression, changing women's style forever. Women stopped wearing corsets and long skirts and traded them for shorter or more comfortable clothing. As women became less restricted, they were offered more jobs, and they began smoking cigarettes, cutting their hair, drinking alcohol, and wearing makeup in small acts of rebellion and their newfound freedom.
Thank you for that wonderful story. Now on to the next segment.
Thank you. On December 7th, nearly 70 years ago, over 50 American naval ships, including our major battleships, and nearly 500 airplanes were brought down by Japanese fire. Among the ships, the USS Arizona was included. A 2-ton bomb smashed through the deck of the battleship, causing the ship to explode, and several thousand men died trapped inside. Not even a moment later, torpedoes pierced the shell of the battleship USS Oklahoma, With our many sailors aboard, the Oklahoma lost her balance, rolled over her side, and slipped underwater, never to be heard from again. Less than 2 hours later, the surprise attack was over, and every battleship in Pearl Harbor, USS Arizona, USS Oklahoma, USS California, USS West Virginia, USS Utah, USS Maryland, USS Pennsylvania, USS Tennessee, and USS Nevada had sustained significant damage and unable to be salvaged and repaired. That day, thousands of sailors and civilians were killed and even more wounded. That day, President FDR instantly moved that Congress should declare war on Japan. We now move to an interview with Representative Jeanette Rankin of Montana at the time. Rankin was a pacifist who had also voted against American entrance into World War I. What was going through your head that day?
As a woman, I can't go into war. Send anyone else, it's not right. But when it came down to me being last to vote whether the United States were going to war or not, I knew what had to be done.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing. Now on to our next topic.
American imperialism has been an ongoing occurrence for some time now. However, the latest development in the story takes place within the boundaries of Hawaii. Previously ruled by the Jungle Princess, Queen Liliuokalani, the people of Hawaii were left in desperate need of American intervention. It is our responsibility as a superior race to uplift, civilize, and Christianize the native peoples of Hawaii. They may say that this is the white man's burden and our help is based purely upon the ideas of social Darwinism, but soon they will see just how great life can be under the proper circumstances. Hence why President William McKinley is advocating so strongly on behalf of the Hawaiian people, so that their territory could soon be annexed into our great nation. This will directly result in the economic integration and the rise of the United States as a Pacific power, henceforth furthering the influence of the United States worldwide.
Yo, Aaron, where are you? Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing. Now on to our next topic.
October 29, 1929, the stock market suffered a devastating crash. The stock market expanded rapidly in a short amount of time until it reached its peak. Many losses came from the stock market crash, such as a decline in production and unemployment. Investors traded in 16 million shares on the New York Stock Exchange in one single day in an attempt to save the market from continuing to reach its peak. As a result, billions of dollars were lost and many investors were wiped out. This contributed to stocks being worth only 20% of its normal worth and a big economic crisis. This was one of the causes of the Great Depression. This day was called Black Tuesday, which led to be the start of a very dark time that was a long-lasting economic downturn of history for the Western industrialization. The U.S. would suffer from the effects of the stock market's crash up until 1939, when the World War II revitalized the American industry.
Beginning in the fall.
Bloopers, explicit content, beware.
We're just gonna go with it. Okay!
Bloopers, explicit content, beware.
Democratic National Committee's help warning.
Complained. I'm gonna do that.
Within the boundaries of Hawaii, previously ruled by the Jungle Princess, Queen Liliuokalani. The people of Hawaii were left in desperate need of American intervention.
Princess
Hi, Faith.
Looky here, bud.
Listen here, buckaroo.
Yeehaw.
Get home. President Trump on charges of abusing his. So close.
Women become
She's She's like watching me while eating popcorn.
What?
Seriously?
You?
And we know it in the United States as the flu. The difference between the Wuhan coronavirus or the China pneumonia
To explode and several thousand died. What?
coronavirus is more like what
Ready? Wait. Wow. Boom. Woo. Boom. Woo. Yeah.